The stars above Mars burned cold and silent, but the void was not empty. Hidden between the red planet and the endless dark, a fleet moved with the patience of predators. Their ships were long, blade-like, forged from black alloy that swallowed light. These were not explorers. They were hunters. They were conquerors. The Zereth Empire had taken dozens of worlds. They thought Earth would be no different. Their commanders whispered in their clicking tongue that humans were slow, weak, divided, primitive. They believed the fight would end before it began. They were wrong. It began with a strange silence. The Zereth fleet expected Earth signals, panic, surrender, desperate messages begging for mercy. Instead, space was quiet. Earth had shut down its communications, leaving the invaders blind. For the first time in centuries, the Empire felt something unfamiliar. Not fear. Not yet. But unease. Commander Dravik stood on the bridge of the lead vessel, his 4 black eyes fixed on the holographic map. "They hide like prey," he hissed. "But prey cannot hide forever. We burn their moon, we scatter their colonies, and then Earth will kneel." He gave the order. The fleet advanced, cutting across Mars' orbit like a blade. But humanity had been waiting. Deep in the shadow of Phobos, Mars's moon, shapes stirred. They were not alien warships. They were human ships, and they were silent, black-armored, and hidden. 4 years, Earth had been preparing. 4 years, they had studied the stars, watched the Empire's wars, and built weapons never tested. Humanity had not forgotten history. When invaders came to Earth in old centuries, humans fought to the last. That truth had never changed. The first strike came without warning. A beam of white fire lanced out from the shadow, striking the Zereth vanguard. A warship that had conquered 5 worlds split in half, its glowing core spilling into space like blood. On the Zereth bridge, alarms screamed. Commander Dravik snarled. "Impossible! No human weapon has such range." But more beams followed. Human ships uncloaked one by one, rising from the dark like predators waiting for the kill. Their hulls bore no markings. They were not painted with flags or names. They carried only silence and steel. For the first time, the Empire realized humanity was not prey. On Earth, people watched through hidden channels. They could not hear the battles, but they knew. Fathers whispered to sons, mothers held their children, and in every heart burned the same thought: never again. Never another chain around our world. The battle beyond Mars became chaos. Zereth ships fired their plasma lances, carving through black space, but the human vessels moved in strange, unpredictable ways. They spun, darted, cut through formations like wolves through a herd. The invaders had numbers. Humans had something else. On board the human flagship Vigilant, Captain Elias Stone watched the enemy scatter. His jaw was set like iron, his voice steady even as the void burned outside. "They thought Earth was weak," he said. "Show them what it means to hunt us on our own ground." Missiles streaked from the Vigilant, splitting into dozens of smaller warheads that weaved past defenses and struck true. Another Zereth cruiser vanished in fire. Another screamed into silence as its hull cracked and vented its crew into the dark. Still, the Empire fought. Their ships were brutal, their technology ancient and refined by centuries of conquest. One human destroyer was caught, torn apart by plasma fire, vanishing in a storm of light. But even as human ships fell, others surged forward with no fear, no hesitation. Commander Dravik watched his fleet burn. He had led countless wars, crushed civilizations, yet never had he seen prey that hunted back. And in that moment, he understood something terrible. Humanity was not fighting for expansion. Not for glory. They fought because their home was threatened. And a species that fought for its home could not be broken. The Zereth commander gave a desperate order. Fall back beyond Mars. Regroup. Crush them with numbers. But the humans were not finished. Hidden in the asteroid belt, deep within the rocks, Earth's final weapon waited. Automated platforms awoke, their cores glowing like suns. They had one purpose only: Annihilation. As the Zereth ships tried to retreat, the belt came alive. Thousands of kinetic slugs, moving at near-light speeds, tore through the Empire's warships like paper. Hulls shattered. Engines died. Silence claimed the void. Beyond Mars, the Zereth fleet broke apart. In one night, the Empire that had conquered countless worlds lost its greatest fleet. Humanity had not only defended Earth. They had annihilated their enemy so completely that survivors could barely flee into the black. On board the Vigilant, Captain Stone watched the wreckage drift. His voice was low, meant only for his crew, but every soul felt the weight of his words. They tried to seize Earth, he said. Now the galaxy will know. Humanity does not kneel. Humanity does not surrender. Not now. Not ever. In the silence beyond Mars, the war was only beginning. The wreckage of the Zereth fleet drifted beyond Mars, silent and broken. Shattered ships spun slowly in the void, their glowing cores cooling to black. For the first time in centuries, the Empire's proud war banners had been burned away. But the battle was not over. Survivors still lived. Small groups of Zereth warships had managed to escape the trap. They scattered into the darkness, engines burning, trying to retreat to safety. Captain Elias Stone stood at the center of the Vigilance bridge. His crew watched him, waiting for the next command. Outside, the stars glimmered like cold fire. Stone's voice cut through the silence. Do not let them return to their masters. Not one of them must carry word of Earth. His words were simple, but every man and woman aboard felt the weight. If the Empire learned what had happened here, they would return with more. Humanity had struck hard, but the galaxy was vast, and the Zereth were not the only predators out there. The human fleet surged forward. Engines roared in the black, hunters chasing prey. On one crippled Zereth cruiser, Commander Dravik clung to his command chair. Sparks rained from shattered consoles. Smoke filled the air. His crew scrambled, hissing in fear. He forced his voice into calm. We must reach the outer relay. The Empire must know of this human trickery. We will return with 1,000 ships. We will burn their planet to ash. But deep inside, even Dravik felt a new emotion, a cold unease that gnawed at his pride. These humans were not like the others. They fought with something more than weapons. They fought with fury. In the distance, human missiles streaked forward, glowing trails across the void. The Zereth ship's defense systems fired desperately, cutting some from the sky, but too many remained. One missile slammed into the cruiser's flank, tearing open the hull. A second followed, ripping into the engines. The ship lurched, tumbling, half of its lights going dark. Commander Dravik's crew wailed. He gritted his teeth, refusing to yield. Keep firing. They cannot destroy us all. But even as he spoke, human ships closed in. They were smaller than the Zereth cruisers, but faster, sharper, like blades dancing in the dark. Their weapons were precise, their strikes merciless. The Zereth tried to fight. Plasma lances tore across the black, catching one human frigate and turning it into fire. But the humans did not break formation. They pressed closer, like predators circling their kill. On the Vigilant, Captain Stone watched the battle with eyes cold as steel. His second officer leaned closer. Sir, do we give them quarter? Should we let survivors flee? Stone's reply was hard. No. If they escape, they will return with fire. The only mercy is swiftness. The humans struck again. Railguns thundered, kinetic slugs tearing through the last of the Zereth shields. The alien cruiser shuddered, its hull cracking like glass. And then, with a soundless scream, it came apart. Commander Dravik was hurled into the dark, his final thoughts a curse that never reached the Empire. But the humans did not cheer. On the Vigilance bridge, silence reigned. The crew looked out at the drifting wrecks, their faces pale. They had won, but they knew this was only the beginning. Earth had revealed its hand. And the galaxy would notice. Far away, beyond the asteroid belt, hidden listening posts watched the battle. They did not belong to the Zereth. Other eyes, other species, had been watching humanity for years. They saw the empire burn, they saw the humans rise, and they felt fear. In the shadow of Saturn, one such ship stirred. Its crew spoke in whispers, their voices clicking with unease. The humans, they fight like deathworlders. The empire could not break them. If they are allowed to grow, they will spread. The captain of the shadow ship gave a grim order. Send word to the council. The humans must not be ignored. They are more dangerous than we believed. Back on Earth, the world celebrated. People filled the streets, voices rising in joy. They had faced annihilation and survived. For the first time in history, the nations of Earth stood as one. No borders. No rivals. Only one species under one cause. Yet in the halls of power, leaders spoke in hushed tones. They knew what victory meant. The Zereth would not forget this defeat. They would return, and not alone. And when they did, Earth would need to be ready. On board the Vigilant, Captain Elias Stone stood at the viewing deck, staring into the endless black. His reflection stared back at him, sharp-eyed, weary, unbroken. He whispered to the stars, as if daring the galaxy itself. Come and take it. Humanity will be waiting. And the void seemed to answer with silence, heavy and endless. The fires of victory still burned across Earth's skies. Cities lit up with banners, families celebrated in the streets, and for the first time in centuries, there was no division. Humanity had faced extinction and survived. Beyond Mars, the wreckage of the Zereth fleet drifted like a warning to any who dared approach. But even in celebration, unease lingered. The galaxy was vast, and the Empire was not alone. In the council chambers of the Zereth Empire, survivors had already delivered the news. 1,000 voices hissed in outrage, claws scraping against the stone floor. The High Warlord slammed his staff, his 4 eyes blazing with fury. Humans destroyed our fleet? Lies. They are primitives. But the evidence was undeniable. Holograms flickered, showing shattered warships, torn apart with precision and strength. The chamber fell silent. For the first time in generations, the Empire faced an enemy it had not crushed. Whispers spread. Some spoke of human weapons beyond understanding. Others said Earth had forged alliances with darker forces. But one truth rose above all: the Empire would have revenge. Back in Earth's orbit, the Vigilant drifted near the station ring. Captain Elias Stone stood at the tactical table, his officers gathered around. They were tired, their uniforms still scorched from battle, but their eyes burned with the same fire. Stone spoke with calm steel. We destroyed their fleet. But they will return, and when they do, they will not come alone. The Zereth will call allies. They will call reinforcements from across the stars. The next battle will not be beyond Mars. It will be for Earth itself. His words carried across the room like a blade. Lieutenant Reyes leaned forward. Sir, then we cannot wait. We must strike first. Show the galaxy that if they come for us, we will carry the fight to them. But others hesitated. Humanity had never gone beyond its solar system in war. To strike first meant to leave home undefended. It meant walking into the unknown. Stone looked at each of them. If we wait, they will come with fire. If we strike, we choose the battlefield. And humanity does not wait for chains to be fastened. We break them first. Meanwhile, far across the stars, the Shadow Watchers who had witnessed the battle near Mars gathered in secret. They were not part of the Zereth Empire, but their council feared the rise of humanity even more. The elder of their kind spoke softly, but his words chilled the chamber. Humans are not like the others we have seen. They are not patient. They are not controlled. They fight like predators. If they are allowed to grow, the balance of the galaxy will shatter. We must decide now, contain them or destroy them before they spread. And so, a quiet alliance began to form in the dark, not of friendship, but of fear. Humanity's name, once unknown, was now whispered as a threat. On Earth, no one knew of these councils. but the soldiers felt it in their bones. In the training fields beneath the Rockies, men and women drilled day and night. New ships rose from the shipyards, black-armored, faster than anything before. Humanity had no choice but to prepare. In one hangar, an old engineer stood beside a fresh-built vessel. Its frame gleamed under the lights, sharp as a predator's tooth. He placed his hand on the steel and whispered, "We are not prey. Not anymore." On the Vigilant, Stone received word from the High Council of Earth. Their message was brief, but its meaning shook every soul aboard. "Captain Stone, you are authorized to lead the first strike beyond our system. The enemy must not recover. You will take the war to their worlds." The crew stood in silence. The order was clear. Humanity was no longer defending. Humanity was hunting. Stone turned to his officers, his voice firm. "Beyond Mars, we showed them we will not bow. Now we show them something greater. We show them that if they come for Earth, humanity will bring fire to their very homes." The stars outside the viewing glass seemed endless, a black ocean waiting for blood. For the first time in history, human warships prepared to leave their cradle, not as explorers, not as colonists, but as avengers. The void was silent, but it was the silence before a storm. And in that silence, the galaxy began to tremble. The human fleet left the safety of Earth's skies in silence. For the first time in history, warships built by human hands crossed the edge of the solar system, engines burning white against the black. They carried no banners, no songs of conquest, only resolve. Humanity was not going to wait for the enemy to return, they were going to strike first. On board the Vigilant, Captain Elias Stone stood at the command deck, his eyes fixed on the glowing star maps. The target was clear, a Xerath outpost at the edge of their empire. It was a fuel and relay station, lightly defended but vital. If it fell, the Empire would know that humanity's reach was longer than they imagined. "Jump complete," the navigator said. Space outside rippled and then steadied, revealing the distant red glow of the Xerath station. Dark spires rose from its surface, armed with long guns that pointed into the void. Around it orbited 3 Xerath warships. The crew held their breath. For generations, humans had looked at the stars with awe. Now they looked at them with sharpened teeth. Stone's voice was steady. "Weapons hot. No warnings. No mercy. We strike first." The Vigilant fired. Railguns roared, hurling kinetic slugs faster than thought. The first round smashed into a Xerath frigate, tearing it in half before its crew even registered the attack. The second slug split a tower on the station, fire spilling into the dark. The Xerath scrambled, alarms blaring. Their ships turned, weapons flaring to life. Plasma bolts lanced across the void, scorching space where the Vigilant had been only seconds before. Human ships moved fast, darting, weaving, cutting across enemy fire like wolves circling a herd. Missiles streaked out, splitting into smaller warheads that spiraled around defenses. Explosions lit the station's shields, cracking them like ice under weight. On the Xerath command deck, the station master shrieked in disbelief. "Humans! Here! Impossible! They do not leave their cradle." But disbelief turned to terror as the station shook under another barrage. In the chaos, one human frigate took a direct hit. Its hull split, air venting into the void. For a moment, screams filled the comms. Then silence. Another reminder, victory came with a cost. Stone gritted his teeth but did not falter. "Press forward. Take their hearts. Show them Earth's will." The humans surged. Boarding pods launched from the fleet, slamming into the Xerath station like iron fists. Steel claws ripped through walls, and human soldiers poured inside. They carried no alien plasma rifles, only their own weapons, simple, brutal, reliable. Inside the corridors, the battle turned savage. Xerath defenders fired in panic, their plasma scorching walls, but humans advanced like shadows. Every step forward was earned with blood, but they did not stop. Lieutenant Reyes led one strike team through the smoke-filled halls. Her voice was low but sharp. Clear this room. Breach the next. Don't let them regroup. The Zereth expected humans to hesitate in the alien environment, but they did not. They adapted quickly, moving with instincts forged from 1,000 years of surviving on a harsh world. Close quarters turned the fight into chaos, and chaos was where humans thrived. Within an hour, the station's core was seized. The Zereth commander lay defeated, dragged before Captain Stone. He hissed in his guttural tongue, "You cannot win. The Empire is endless. Your world will burn." Stone's reply was cold as iron. "Then let them come. We will burn brighter." The station was rigged with charges. As the humans withdrew, explosions ripped through its spires, fire spilling into the black. A beacon of destruction lit the void, the first human strike beyond their home system. When news of the outpost's fall reached the Zereth capital, the Empire reeled. This was no defense, no lucky battle near Earth. This was a declaration. Humans had crossed the stars and struck at their heart. But the humans did not know, they had been watched again. The hidden observers, scattered across the galaxy, spoke in whispers. They grow bolder. They do not wait. They strike. And in the dark, a terrible truth spread. If humanity was willing to carry war to the stars after one battle, then nothing would stop them once their fleets grew. On the Vigilant, Stone looked out at the burning wreckage of the station. His crew was silent, exhausted, but their eyes burned with the same fire. He spoke not as a captain, but as a voice of his people. This was the first. It will not be the last. If they think Earth is prey, then let the galaxy see the hunters we have become. The stars ahead stretched endless, a battlefield waiting to be claimed. And behind the silence, the drums of war began to echo across the galaxy. The ruins of the Zereth station still burned in silence, drifting through the void. For the first time in the Empire's history, an enemy had dared to cross into their space and leave fire behind. The message was clear. Humanity would not wait to be conquered. Across the galaxy, that message spread like a storm. On distant worlds, alien rulers watched the recordings of the battle with unease. The humans had struck swiftly, without hesitation, and destroyed a stronghold that had stood for centuries. In the chambers of the Galactic Council, voices clashed. Dozens of species argued, their words echoing through the grand hall. Some were terrified, others enraged, but all understood one thing. If the humans were not stopped, they would rise too fast. One counselor slammed his claws against the table. The humans annihilated a Zereth fleet beyond Mars. They crossed the void and destroyed a station in their own territory. If we allow this, they will spread like fire. Another, with shimmering scales, hissed back. But they only defend themselves. The Zereth tried to seize their world. Perhaps the Empire has finally found prey with teeth. The hall erupted again, voices sharp and fearful. At last, the council speaker silenced them with a booming strike of his staff. His voice was cold. Whether they fight for defense or conquest, the result will be the same. A species that can annihilate fleets will one day turn against all. The humans must be contained. If they cannot be contained, they must be destroyed. And so, alliances began to form. Races that once feared the Zereth now found a greater fear, humanity. Back aboard the Vigilant, Captain Elias Stone stood at the observation deck. The stars stretched endless before him, but his thoughts were heavy. Reports flowed in from across Earth. Celebration was giving way to unease. Leaders had intercepted whispers. The galaxy was uniting, not for peace, but against them. Lieutenant Reyes entered quietly, a datapad in her hands. "Sir, intelligence confirms it. The Zereth are calling allies. Not just their empire. Other species too. They see us as a threat." Stone's jaw tightened. He had known this day would come, but the speed of it was shocking. Humanity had made its stand, and now the galaxy was gathering to crush them. "Then they will come," Stone said. "And when they come, we will be ready." But even as he spoke, doubt lingered. Humanity was strong, yes, but small. Their fleets were growing, but compared to the vast empires, they were a spark against a storm. Far away, on the Zareth homeworld, the High Warlord addressed his people. His voice carried across vast towers, filled with fire and rage. The humans have defied us. They have burned our fleets, shattered our stations. No longer will they be called prey. They are a disease, and the Empire will cut them from the stars. Behind him, banners of war unfurled, crimson against the skies. For the first time in centuries, the Empire was uniting not for conquest, but for vengeance. But the Zareth did not come alone. From the icy moons of the Vale, from the storm worlds of the Torque, ships began to gather. One by one, fleets joined the call, not out of loyalty, but out of fear. Humanity had become a shadow stretching across the galaxy, and shadows had to be burned away. On Earth, leaders met in secret halls. Maps of the galaxy burned across holotables, filled with red markers that grew each day. They knew war was coming, bigger than anything before. But they also knew something the aliens did not. Humans had lived their entire history surrounded by war, famine, and chaos. They had survived worse than extinction. And in their blood, they carried a truth that no empire could erase. When pressed to the edge, humanity did not shatter. It hardened. In training fields across the world, soldiers drilled. In shipyards orbiting the moon, new warships rose, black and sharp, each one faster and deadlier than the last. Civilians too prepared, building shelters, forging weapons, swearing oaths. Captain Stone walked the decks of the Vigilant, watching his crew. They were tired, scarred from battles already fought, but in their eyes burned the same fire he had seen on Earth. They were not afraid. They were waiting. He spoke softly, more to himself than to them. They think fear will break us. They do not understand. Fear is what makes us fight harder. And so the stage was set. The galaxy gathered fleets to crush a species barely a century into the stars. But beyond Mars, in the silence of space, humanity sharpened its blades. The storm was coming. And when it broke, the void itself would burn. The silence before war ended. From the dark edges of the solar system, signals poured in. Drones at the Oort cloud screamed warnings. Listening posts near Pluto fell silent. And then, the first glimpses arrived, shadows bigger than anything humanity had ever faced. The coalition had come. Not only the Zareth, but fleets from a dozen alien powers surged toward Earth. Their numbers filled the void like a swarm, blotting out the stars. Titans of war, some the size of cities, drifted forward with weapons that glowed like suns. The galaxy had united, not for peace, but for fear of one small blue world. On the Vigilant, Captain Elias Stone stood before his crew, his voice low but steady. They are coming with everything. More ships than we have ever seen. But this is our home. Beyond Mars, we showed them we could fight. Now we show them why humanity is never broken. His words carried through the ship like steel. Across Earth, every city prepared. Families huddled in shelters carved deep into stone. Orbital stations armed their cannons. Fleets of black warships rose from the Moon and Mars, smaller than the enemy but burning with speed and fury. The first wave struck near Jupiter. Human outposts hidden among the moons lit up with fire. The alien coalition advanced like a storm, smashing defenses aside. Dozens of human ships were torn apart, their wrecks scattering across the void. Yet even in loss, humanity struck back. As alien carriers closed in, hidden rail platforms within Jupiter's rings fired. Kinetic slugs ripped through hulls, splitting massive ships in half. The void filled with fire and wreckage, but the enemy pressed on, endless. Stone's fleet moved fast, darting from shadow to shadow, striking weak points and vanishing. His tactics turned the battle into chaos, and chaos was where humans thrived. But even he knew, numbers would overwhelm them. On Earth, leaders watched in grim silence. The coalition was too large, too united. Even with their fury, humanity could not win by defense alone. At last, Stone gave the order that shocked his officers. We bleed them here, near Jupiter. Then we fall back. We draw them closer to Earth. Sir, Reyes said, eyes wide, if they reach Earth, cities will burn. Stone's gaze was unshaken. Then we make Earth their grave. And so the humans fell back, every ship fighting as it retreated. Jupiter burned, its moons scarred, but the coalition followed. They smelled victory. They thought Earth was breaking. But Earth was not breaking. It was waiting. As the coalition surged toward the inner system, hidden weapons awoke. Swarms of drones poured from the asteroid belt, millions of them, each carrying explosives. They struck like locusts, tearing into alien formations, overwhelming defenses. Whole ships vanished in storms of fire. Still, the enemy pressed on. Their numbers seemed endless, their ships blotting out the stars as they neared Mars. On board the Vigilant, alarms blared. The bridge shook under enemy fire. Stone's crew scrambled, voices sharp with urgency. Yet through the chaos, Stone stood firm. Hold the line. Every minute we fight here is another minute Earth prepares. Mars became a battlefield of fire. Human colonies turned into fortresses, their guns blazing. Missiles rose from hidden silos, striking at enemy carriers. But the coalition struck harder, their weapons leveling cities and silencing defenses one by one. In the dust of Mars, soldiers fought hand to hand. Plasma burned across red soil. Humans fell, but none surrendered. Even when overrun, they detonated charges, dragging their enemies into the grave with them. And still, the coalition pressed closer. At last, battered and bloodied, the human fleet fell back to Earth itself. Behind them, Mars burned. The coalition cheered, convinced the humans were broken. But they did not see what waited ahead. The Earth was no longer the cradle of prey. It had become a fortress. Orbital cannons surrounded the planet, glowing with energy. Massive ships, hidden until now, rose from the shadows of the moon. And deep beneath Earth's oceans, something older stirred, human weapons built in silence, never revealed until this moment. As the coalition closed in, Stone stood at the heart of the Vigilant. His voice cut through the storm, reaching every ship, every soldier, every soul on Earth. They think we are cornered. They think we are finished. But this is our home. And we will show them that humanity fights hardest when the enemy is at our door. And in that moment, the final battle began. The coalition fleet filled Earth's skies. From orbit, the stars were gone, swallowed by the endless mass of alien warships. The Zereth and their allies had gathered everything to end humanity in one strike. Their commanders whispered of victory, of burning Earth to ash, of ending the human threat forever. On the surface, the world held its breath. Families huddled in bunkers. Soldiers stood ready in the streets. In orbit, black warships waited in silence. Humanity was battered, bloodied, but not broken. On board the Vigilant, Captain Elias Stone stood before his crew. The ship trembled under distant fire, but his voice carried steady, iron hard. They think Earth is weak. They think this is the end. But this is not the end. This is the day the galaxy learns why humanity will never kneel. The order was given. Earth lit up. From the hidden silos beneath oceans, titanic missiles launched, breaking the waves and streaking into the sky. From the moon's shadow, colossal cannons fired beams of white fire, cutting through the dark. Drones rose by the thousands, swarming like a storm of steel. The coalition reeled as the trap was sprung. What they thought was a cornered prey had been a waiting predator. Human weapons, hidden and silent for years, now roared with fury. The first wave of enemy carriers was cut apart. Kinetic slugs the size of buildings tore through their armor, splitting them in half. Drones swarmed, latching onto engines and detonating in flashes of fire. But the coalition struck back. Beams of plasma ripped through human ships, tearing them open. Orbital cannons exploded under the assault. Cities on Earth shook as enemy fire rained down, burning the skies. The war became a storm. Above, human ships fought like wolves. Outnumbered, outgunned, they darted through the chaos, striking weak points, breaking formations. Each ship that fell bought another moment for Earth. Each life lost carried the weight of millions saved. On the Vigilant, alarms blared. Hull plating cracked, fires spread across the decks. Still, Captain Stone stood tall, eyes fixed on the burning horizon. "Hold the line," he commanded. "No ship breaks. No one runs. This is our stand." The enemy pressed harder. Wave after wave hammered Earth. Yet humanity refused to break. Soldiers on the ground fired until their weapons ran dry, then picked up the rifles of the fallen. Pilots with shattered wings rammed their ships into enemy hulls, turning themselves into weapons. Every act was defiance. Every act was survival. In the heart of Earth, the final weapon waited. The Aegis Array, buried beneath the crust, a last resort weapon never meant to be used. Its power drew from the very planet itself, a chain of orbital satellites linked into one vast strike. The decision to fire it came at the cost of everything. If it failed, Earth would burn with it. But if it worked, the galaxy would never forget. Stone's voice reached the council chambers on Earth, his image flickering across the room. "This is the moment. If we fall, they will burn our world. If we rise, we show them what it means to challenge humanity. Fire the array." The order was given. Above Earth, the skies changed. The satellites came alive, linking beams into a single spear of white fire. The Aegis Array unleashed its fury. The spear cut through the void, striking the heart of the coalition fleet. One by one, ships vanished, torn apart in explosions brighter than stars. Carriers, cruisers, dreadnoughts, all shattered under the fury of Earth itself. The coalition panicked. Their lines broke, their commanders screamed. The fleet that had blotted out the stars became wreckage drifting across the black. On board the Vigilant, the crew watched in stunned silence. For a moment, even Stone's voice faltered. Then he spoke, soft but sharp. "This is the price of coming to our home." By dawn, it was over. The coalition's great fleet, the weapon meant to erase humanity, was gone. Only scattered survivors fled into the dark, their voices filled with fear. On Earth, people emerged from shelters, staring at the skies where wreckage glowed like falling stars. For the first time in history, humanity had not only survived, but triumphed against the united galaxy. Yet in the silence after victory, one truth echoed louder than any celebration. Humanity had revealed its strength. And now, the galaxy would never forget. In the council halls of distant worlds, alien rulers whispered the same words. Words that spread like fire, words that would change the stars forever. They tried to seize Earth. Humanity annihilated them beyond Mars.